Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 222 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. I'm Ryan, joined by the rest of the crew here this evening. We've got Adam, we've got Trey, we've got Mike. All four of us are here, and we're here to preview week number 11 of the CFL season, taking a look at the major matchup storylines, fantasy players to watch, and our betting picks for each of the games this week. We'll bring in the whole panel in just a second. We are also live on a variety of different platforms, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV, which you can learn more about by visiting GameTimeTV.ca. Send your comments, send your questions in the live chat. We'll take a look at them throughout the live show as well. And we also want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. Now let's say hi to everybody else here this evening. First, he's to the top right on my screen here, so we'll bring him in first. The great Adam Stewart is here. Busy day of farming, Adam, but you make time for football.
Absolutely. We're busy swathing. We're busy getting combines ready. We got a broke down grain truck. We got to get the grain augers ready. The other combine's not broke down yet, and it's still 8:30 at night. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy day, but hey, the podcast is important too. We got to get the CFL and all the good stuff talked about with the Canadian Football League. Isn't that right, Trey?
I don't want to talk to you, Adam. I mean, yeah.
But why?
Maybe it was me who pulled some plugs in your tractor combine today. You never know, man. Misdirection got you worried about that, so you don't worry about fantasy.
I see. Well, I don't know. I think maybe Mike should answer that one instead to see if. Do you think Trey's been pulling plugs on me?
I have no idea, but guys, I have no idea what to say after that intro, other than good evening.
All right, that works too. Whole crew here this evening. Important note, fantasy matchup in our Discord league this week. Trey and Adam go head-to-head. You'll probably hear a lot of trash talk throughout the night, so let's get that context in there before we begin.
I only throw trash talk to people who are on my same level. That's it.
So right in the basement, in other words.
You can't do that to me, man. Okay, yeah, sure.
Well, this is going to be a fun night here, folks, as we talk about everything from Week 11 in the CFL. Of course, we've got a lot of extra content for you every week in our Discord community, which if you haven't joined already, it's free to join. The link is in the episode description to do so. We've got bonus episodes each week. Mike and I recorded the Drive Home Call-In show. We had a good episode of that on Monday this week. We've got fantasy talk, betting content going on in there as well. And I know NFL season's getting close. And if you're interested in NFL fantasy, hop in the Discord community as well, because we may just get a league going with folks in the Discord community there also. But let's get into talking CFL for week number 11 and talk about our first game of the week here, which is the Edmonton Elks visiting the Hamilton Tiger Cats Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. I wrote Central Time in my document here, but I think that's Eastern Time. That is correct. Adam, let's start with Edmonton, because I think that's where we get the most news here.
Well, definitely a lot of news out of Edmonton. I mean, I'll quickly go through the depth chart. Eugene Lewis is in. He's back off injury. Lucas Purifoy's off for injury right now. He's going to be out of the lineup this week. But huge news coming out of the Edmonton Elks side of things, more up in the top of everything. The president, Victor Cui, has been dismissed by the Edmonton Elks. I guess it's the executive that runs the Edmonton Elks, because it is a community-owned team. Essentially let Victor Cui go this week. Just kind of giving Chris Jones a vote of confidence to say that he can do as what Chris Jones liked to do. So I don't get this. Guys, tell me what in the world is with the Edmonton Elks. Like, I thought that Victor Cui was the only thing kind of keeping this team going the right way. Just want to quick, because we got a whole pile of topics tonight, just want to quickly get your thoughts.
Yeah, I can jump in here first and say I was shocked by this news, but like I'm never too shocked with anything going on in the CFL anymore. What a difference a year makes. Remember going back to last year, the summer of Stern, the summer of Gooey, where all the talks about the great things that these two guys are doing as owners of the league, and then Stern's out, Gary Stern's out, now Victor Cooey's out. There's talk about issues, in the boardroom and things like that, and behind closed doors. I don't know what to believe, to be honest. There's different stories from different sides, so I could see either scenario happening. Based on everything I've seen publicly, I mean, it seems like Cooey was a good presence there for the Elks and making meaningful changes off the field while the product on the field was hot garbage. And yeah, you may have had a bit of a vote of confidence in Chris Jones, but if that's the issue, then why is the Board of Governors still giving Chris Jones the vote of confidence here? I don't know, Trey, any quick thoughts from you?
No, I kind of the same. I wasn't surprised because if they're going to blame someone with the salary, a coach's cap, you can't blame Jones right now, I guess, because if he just says I'm leaving, I think his salary would still apply to it, right? But you got to blame somebody. I think what shocked me more was, I don't know what supposed issues there was around him. Like you said, Ryan, he seemed to be one of the owners of the future, or presidents of the future, and it's just surprising at how it ended. I thought he might be a move at the end of the season, not right now. Mike, do you have a quick thought on Cooey?
Yeah, I have a couple actually, but I'll make this as quick as possible. Do you guys remember when the president search was going on in Edmonton, and they brought in Wally Buono as a consultant to the process? Anyway, that's what did happen. But oh man, Trey, you're hilarious tonight. But as I was saying, I wonder, is this a board of directors, board of whatever you want to call it? It sounds like the head guy on this voluntary board of directors is a Chris Jones type of guy. Part of me wonders if Wally Buono actually suggested that, or if this was a move from up above. Nonetheless, I really see a lot of dysfunction at the top, and I would suggest it's even at the board level. Some of the level of directness at that press conference yesterday was not good. I thought for a team that's won whatever it is, 4 or 5 games in the last 3 years, fans deserve a little more of an explanation. I thought when he said Edmonton has to continue to support the team, I found that to be an honest slap in the face. Honestly, give me something to watch that's worth coming. The product is unwatchable right now. That's the only way I can see this actually fixing itself in the not too long-term future is if this franchise moves to private ownership. And that's a stance that had me thinking yesterday. As a community-owned team, you have a lot of ideas and a lot of opinions. It's too many cooks in the kitchen. They have new owners in Toronto recently, new owners in BC. Hamilton went incorporated. The community-owned team in Regina to maybe start to see. Now, that might not be an issue in Regina or here in Winnipeg, but the community-owned model, I think, leads itself to more problems than privately owned teams. And I just have to wonder if that might be the next solution in Edmonton.
As we move over to the Ticats side of things here, Mike, what's the major storyline? Right back to you here. What's the major storyline on the Hamilton side for us to talk about?
One thing for me, Scott Fitsit, or Mr. Fitsit Scott. Scott Milanovich making his debut as offensive coordinator. If you've listened to Orlando Steinhauer, He doesn't expect it to be fixed in one full swoop. He thinks it's got to be a process approach. I'm curious to see some different minds and some different opinions on what an offensive game plan involving their young quarterback looks like. To me, Scott Milanovic seems like a much better offensive coordinator choice than Tommy Condell. I think this is a move to try to salvage a team trying to find its way to get to the Grey Cup on home field, who's quite frankly running out of time to give themselves an honest shot. That being said, I really expect them to come out offensively with a little bit more mojo than what we've seen of late. Defensively, to be honest, I haven't had much of an issue. I honestly can't believe the number of people that are underdoging Hamilton in this game. If you look at the CFL.ca pick'em, I think Hamilton's being a little bit disrespected, but listen to this, guys. Two teams in absolute turmoil. Somebody's going to be very happy tomorrow night, and the other team, well, the misery continues.
Anybody have anything to add on Scott Milanovic taking over the play calling here for the Ticats before we move into fantasy?
Well, I think the only thing I got really quickly with that is just I want to see him use James Butler more. And I mean, we started to see it a little bit in the last 2 weeks there of Tommy Condell. James Butler had some good runs. This is a team in Edmonton that gives up a lot of run. So I think that that's going to be the big key in this one is let's see James Butler actually have a really big game, I think is what's going to be the key for Hamilton to win this one. Trey, anything?
No, Adam, I just suggest you take players from this game in fantasy. That's all. That's all I got.
I will, because they mostly do better than teams that actually are on winning streaks.
Oh, then never mind. Take Toronto.
It's a great strategy. There is a question in the chat from Richard saying, I'm curious what happens at QB if Hamilton goes on a win streak, especially if Milanovic puts together a good game plan for Powell. I mean, Bo, if once he's healthy, probably comes back in as the starter. Schultz, once he's healthy, if Bo's not ready to go, probably comes back in as the starter no matter what. But, you know, for a team that's been so up and down early in the season, I think you got to ride with the hot hand and whatever's working for the offensive game plan personally. Is my thought on that one. Let's get right into fantasy picks for this game. And if Adam's picking a lot of players from this game, I'm recommending a lot of them here as well. So that could be good or bad, depending on flip a coin, whether my suggestions are good or bad any given week. Let's start with a couple names on the Hamilton side before we go over to you guys. My biggest lock of the week is James Butler at running back at $11,000 this week. He currently has 3 of the top 5 running back performances of the year with 24 or more points. And in the 2 games that Taylor Powell has started, he's had 18 targets and 14 catches. So he's basically Powell's go-to receiver. And I think the offense gets better with a new play caller. Also, the Elks give up an atrocious 18 fantasy points a game to starting running back, so it's match made in heaven. Spoiler alert, I'm putting James Butler in as my captain. I'm 99% sure this week. A couple of other names on the Ticats side I like. This one's confusing because, once again, CFL Fantasy, Genius Sports finds a way to put 2 separate copies of the same player in fantasy, and probably only one of them is going to score points. Anthony Johnson comes off the injured reserve to fill in for Terry Godwin at left wideout for the Ticats this week, and he's now listed in fantasy at both $6,000 and $2,500. And we had this happen with Richie Sindani early in the year, and only 1 copy got points. So I'm hoping they straighten this out before the game, because I think even at either price, he's good value play. The left wideout, again, Godwin seemed to be one of Powell's favorite targets. He also had a respectable 250 yards in 5 games last season. So I think he could be a decent value play for you there. And I also like the Ticats defense at $8,600. We had some really good back and forth in our Discord community this week about the value of fantasy defenses. Shout out to Discord member Sandwiches for putting together some charts on that as well. And kind of what we discovered is that most cases defenses aren't worth the money. In fantasy, they're not bringing you close to the same value that other positions are bringing you. So in a lot of ways, you should be spending low on defenses. And the Ticats have also been one of the top 3 value plays in 4 of their last 5 games. So it's a great matchup with the Elks. I think it's a good defensive play there. I do have 2 names on the Elks side to talk about, but let's go over each of you first. Give me one name that you've got, if any, that we haven't talked about here for fantasy in this matchup. Let's go to you first, Mike.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of discussion about Tim White having a rather quiet year. I think that's his name, Tim White. Tim White. There just seems to be a lot of, like, if you listen to Coach Steinhauer, a lot of the questions have been directed, I guess, or phrased at Tim White. Like, what do you need to do to get Tim White going? You know, how important is Tim White to your team? Blah, blah, blah. I wonder if Tim White is finally due for a breakout with the new offensive coordinator. Not saying I'm going to take Tim White, but he, to me, seems to be a bit way too quiet for way too long. And I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks out.
I like it. Adam, what about you?
I've only got really the one, and you already brought him up. I mean, I'm definitely going to be taking James Butler this week. Great against Edmonton's not really great against the run. James Butler's had some big performances. Bring him on. That's all I can say.
Hey, you gonna spill a hand here for your opponent at all, or?
I'm just here so I won't get fined. Or what, plead the fifth. I do like what both I guess both of you said about a certain running back, and I can get down with that.
I thought you were taking Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, I would take him all day. Baby, give me that chicken. Okay, yeah. Can he come up here? I'll do it. You can have him work on your farm in the off season, man, for extra money, man.
I like it. 2 names on the Elks side to go over as well. I've got Kevin Brown at $13,000 also. The Elks' first half running back usage last week went really well for them against the Bombers and was kind of finally what I was waiting to see from them all season long. Then they went away from it in the second half, and well, we know what happened there for the Elks as they blew the lead in that game. I thought it was a great offensive game plan from Jarius Jackson to start. And I think the tale of 2 halves kind of gives them a bit of an obvious indication to keep getting Brown involved. And I think he still has the talent there and has just been waiting to break out this season like he did last season. And also I'm going to throw Trey Ford in here for $8,500 at quarterback. I'm still not a believer in him as a passer, but I do have to give him credit for a 75% completion percentage last week. Also, his biggest assets are his running ability and his deep ball, which are like the 2 biggest things you want to see from a fantasy quarterback, arguably. And he hit it a couple of times last season. So he's one of the cheaper options. It's a great matchup against the Ticats to give up a lot to quarterbacks. I'm willing to take a chance on that cheaper play, especially given we'll get into these other games. There's a lot up in the air with who's starting where for quarterbacks this week around the CFL, but it's no question Trey Ford is getting a second straight start here. What do we have? What's the line at for this game on the betting side, Trey?
That is a good question. Where'd my thing go here? It is plus 5.5 for Edmonton, minus 5.5 for Hamilton. 45 over under. Ooh, I was just talking about this on the Blue, White, and Rouge podcast, and it was I was interested about this line because I felt like this game could be one where it's going to be exciting because it's close, but it could be like 14-10. You know what I mean? Like both of these teams haven't shown ton, but I am going to take Hamilton, but the under. Mike, what do you like? You know what, man? You need to start sending your picks in when you're not here. Just because you're not here. Your stats are all messed up. But anyway, Mike, what do you like? Mike not here? Okay, Ryan, you go then.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, my pick in this game, I'm taking the Ticats for the very first time this season, I think. I'm finally doing it because Edmonton just keeps finding another way to lose a football game, and I'm interested to see what it's going to be this week, and it might end at some point, it might not. But honestly, the Ticats finally did the thing I've been waiting for them to do for years, and they let Tommy Condell go. So I'm going to give them the vote of confidence here and say they're going to win this football game. I'm going to take the over on this one as well. I think both these defenses can give up their fair share of points, and so I'll take the over on this one. Mike, are you ready to go with your pick now?
Yeah, I'm going to go Hamilton and on the over. Just because here's a spoiler alert in our little pool. I am forced to play Trey Ford this week as a result of another quarterback having health in question. So I would appreciate support for Trey Ford. But he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns tomorrow. But I really realistically don't see that happening. Largely on the back of Edmonton's defense, having a complete and utter destructive meltdown after going up 22-0. I just think in spite of everything going on at quarterback for Hamilton has more going for them. So that's why I'm taking Hamilton and over 45 points.
All right, Adam.
Well, I thought you had just asked me first, seeing as I'm the betting expert right now and leading the crew and everything. But I guess I can go last. And I'm going to take a shot.
Higher up the ladder, harder to fall, man. That's all good.
Yeah, I've been this high up the ladder for a very long time in betting, so I'm going to take my moment.
I'm afraid of heights, so I'll stay at the bottom.
Yeah, well, fair point. I like remote bin openers. You don't have to open the bin. You just pull from the rope in the bottom. Works better. Anyways, I'm going to take a shocker, though. I'm going to take the Edmonton Elks. They got to win one sometime here. They had a great game against the Bombers right off the bat. You know what? They might happen to pull one off here finally. I doubt it, but hey, you know what? 5.5, you get a little bit of a chance. And I'm going to take the under as well. So I don't think there'll be a lot of points scored, but I think somehow Edmonton's going to win this one. So you tell me how I'm crazy. I mean, 1-9, at least they break one streak this week.
This is how we catch Adam, guys. You do know they have to play a full 60-minute football game. It's not just one half, right? I'm not sure if they know that yet.
Yeah, but also Hamilton has to play a second half, and they haven't done that much this year either.
Watch it be a rain delay and canceled at halftime, and neither team has to play a second half. Let's move on to our second game of the week here, which is a Friday night matchup between the Bombers and the Stampeders in Calgary. Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Adam, let's go to you here first with, let's talk about the Calgary side and what do we need to talk about here for the Stamps?
How many yards is Jake Maier just not getting anymore? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The guy has some good weeks, then he all of a sudden goes terrible. Then he starts and goes even worse. I don't know. It's just been all over the place here for this week for Jake Maier. Not a whole lot really to say about the Stampeders that I've got this week. It's been pretty quiet over in the Stampeders front. I looked at the injury report. Probably the only big injury that you might want to know about is Jonathan Moxey. He is questionable. I maybe even seen out by some reports for this week against the Bombers. That's a big loss, especially with the Blue Bombers having a high-flying wide receiving core. You need all your defensive backs that are starters in there. Overall, though, I think the big thing I got to talk about is, again, consistency with your receivers. There hasn't been any this year with Calgary, and it's starting to show pretty drastically here, especially against the BC Lions last week. I think this week they've got even a bigger challenge now with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers coming in. Mike, what do you got right now on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Who's starting, I guess?
Wow, who's starting? That is, I think there's only two people in the Winnipeg Blue Bomber building that know who that's going to be. And that is Michael Shea, and that is Zach Talau himself, and maybe Drew Brown. One thing we do know is that Zach Talau did not participate in today's closed practice. We believe that to be the case. We have also seen Blue Bombers not practice all week and then suddenly find themselves in the lineup. Guys, if you put a gun to my head and said I had to put money on who the starter would be on Friday, I would say it has to be Drew Brown. But again, I've been proven to be absolutely wrong in the past. I honestly feel that second half performance in particular bought the Blue Bombers this week. I mean, even if disaster would have struck last week and they don't come back and win that game, I still think they have Drew Brown as an option. For me, I just feel like there is, other than potentially first place on the line, there is no reason to play Zach Talau in this game. You are 6-2. The BC Lions are 6-2. Is it really, really that imperative for first place than to buy your quarterback an extra week when he has a history of head and neck issues and your backup quarterback showed he was more than capable of winning the game last week? Granted, I know it was against the Elks, but still, I mean, what he did was a shade around 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in, 2.5 quarters. Bottom line, fantasy advice, stay away from a Blue Bomber quarterbacks unless you know who's playing on the day of the game. Quite honestly, good luck with that getting out. But no, I did it back to the original question. I fully expect Drew Brown to play, and I fully expect Drew Brown to win the Blue Bombers another football game because there's just way too many questions in Calgary right now. And maybe a smart fantasy play, a little bit of a heads up with kind of what I'm thinking with my lineup, is that Brady Oliveira might be a smart play this week, considering he might get the lion's share of the football this week, along with some very, very, very skilled receivers that the Bombers have. But again, my money on Drew Brown starting this game, but I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I got a quick point to both of you. So Adam's point earlier about the stamps, I was actually just talking about this. This is what's fresh in my mind on the Red, White, and Blue podcast. If you look at the yak yards for Calgary receivers last week, the highest was 18 yards. So that's crazy to me. Like, some guys should be getting 18 a play on the CFL field. So there's one of two things kind of happening. One is, like, I think Mayer kind of burst out on the scene and he was getting these deep balls and he's not getting them anymore. Or sorry, not deep balls. People were prepared for the deep ball because they were prepared for Bo, and Mayer was able to nickel and dime them. Now they're prepared for that. That's why we're seeing these low yak yards. And to Mike's point, I could tell you right now who's starting, but I won't because that'll help Adam in fantasy. But if I was the coaching staff of Winnipeg, if I was Mike O'Shea, I'd tell Zach to go fishing and come back on Labor Day. Go camp, go fish, go camp. Don't risk it. You know what I mean? Don't put on one of those sun bucket hats that Medlock used to wear and just go to the zoo. Don't worry about football because we'll need you Labor Day on, and let this kid see what he has for a couple of weeks while, hey, Zach got the 4-year contract, but doesn't mean he's going to play it all, right? So I think you want to see what this guy can do. We don't want to be Green Bay and let Aaron Rodgers overstay his welcome. Now, I'm not comparing those two directly, but you don't want that to happen. And that's my 2 points.
So are you suggesting that Drew Brown should take over for Zach Collaros?
I said that in the offseason, yes.
It's true.
I did say that in the offseason. I think we're overpaying. If you want, Mike, we're trying to have a short episode here, man. I honestly think we overpaid for Zach Collaros. So I would take Drew Brown on his contract going forward over Zach Collaros on the contract. If it was straight up, no salary cap, money doesn't matter, of course I'd take Collaros.
Are we having this same discussion if it's not the Elks and we lose the football game last week?
I just said I've been having this conversation since the offseason.
Yeah, sorry, Trey. I'm not there yet. And that's honestly part of the reason why I want you to play as much as you can here the next little bit. It's just to see what is it. Is Drew Brown not good? Or was it the Elks kind of gift wrapping one? And that's kind of what I've been trying to wrap my head around all week.
Mike, you can never live a day in my head, bro. You never survive.
It's a scary place.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into fantasy talk here? It's interesting you talked about the Calgary yak for the receivers there last week because, there's been a lot of talk about Jake Maier throwing 6-yard passes, and if the players aren't making much work afterward, they catch the ball, then that leads to Maier throwing for tops 150 yards in his last 2 games. So it makes it tough to want to take a receiver from the Calgary offense right now. I'm not taking Jake Maier either. I'm not, and the running back situation was kind of an even split between Carey and Mills last week, and they're both kind of higher in price where it's not really worth taking a chance on either of them, I feel there. I think there could maybe, if you do want to take a Stamps receiver, I think that Mark and Michelle, I keep throwing him out there because he's still pretty cheap. I think he's around $8,000 is the price currently. Last time I checked, was the price on the Calgary side for him. Yeah, $8,000 for Michelle. Still gets his fair share of targets. He's got one of the best matchups for the Stamps in this game. He just hasn't done a whole ton with those targets yet, but in the games he does, he's produced well. So not super confident in that one, but I'll throw it in here. But I've got 3 names on the Bombers side for you guys. Mike, you teased it earlier. Brady Oliveira, I'm throwing him out as a player to watch at $15,000. He's got back-to-back games over 20 points. He continues to lead all running backs in carries and usually adds 2 to 3 targets through the air to his game. Also 3 touchdowns last 2 games, which is something we haven't seen from him in quite some time. Chasing that's ill-advised. You chase volume, you don't chase touchdowns, but if the volume is there to begin with, it's worth taking a look. Kenny Lawler, speaking of volume, has averaged 8 targets per game since returning to the Bombers lineup and is consistently getting the most looks in this offense. He comes in at $12,500. Last week sucked in the sense that he had only 2 catches on those 7 targets, but at least he got the touchdown to pad the stats a little bit. He does have a tough matchup against the Stamps, but I think he's one of those guys that's kind of matchup proof. And honestly, I think I'd take Lawler at a slight discount over Nick Dembski, despite Dembski averaging a high total lately, because Dembski's has been padded by touchdowns and Lawler gets his just through surefire volume. And as we talked about, it depends if he starts, who's the starter on the depth chart. But if Drew Brown is the starter at $7,100, is one of the bigger bargain plays of the week. Looked phenomenal last week, 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns for him. I don't really expect him to do the same every week, but he has risen to the occasion every opportunity he's gotten. So I think he's a cheap potential starting quarterback. It's the cheapest potential starting quarterback you could get for the week. Adam, from either side in this game, give me one player you're watching that hasn't been mentioned.
I don't know if I should say I'm just here so I don't get fined, or am I allowing that just for Trey tonight? Anyways, no, I will tell mine because I'm not scared. I can be trained no matter which way. So, anyways, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna just throw in. I think that Zach Collaros would probably go for a golf session this weekend. Probably staying in Winnipeg and let Drew Brown play because I've got him in my fantasy roster this week. And also, I'm still PO'd at Zach Collaros for giving me -4 points. So, Winnipeg, you owe me one. Make sure that Drew Brown gets a few touchdowns.
I'm worried about you putting a guy who may or may not play in your lineup because you'll either forget to switch it or you'll try to switch it and it won't allow you to. This is a dangerous game you're playing there, Adam. Trey, willing to give us a pick in this game?
It's worth the roll. You got to play. You got to play the game, man. You got to play the game.
Fair enough. Trey, you still playing the game here? Or are you willing to give us a pick?
Oh, sorry, I was just eating some gopher salad here, boys. I feel up before here. What game is this? Winnipeg, Calgary. Again, I have a certain quarterback of a variety that Mike doesn't think should be the starter, but if we can, use my riddle me that one, Batman. And I also got a certain defense that has a guy that likes to play the guitar every time he sacks a quarterback. And when we do that stupid thing every time we get the time count. And and I might have a guy that we're supposed to do people you didn't say. I got a guy that Ryan might have mentioned that doesn't even have a picture on fantasy on the Stampeders. So that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say about that.
All I'm just gonna say though is gopher salad is also known in Saskatchewan as oats and strychnine. So yeah, not good.
That's okay. Actually, just really good Safeway potato salad.
This podcast is in no way sponsored by the Safeway potato salad, but we can come talk to us if you want to. Mike, fantasy pick for you in this game? Anyone we haven't talked about already?
I like Brady Oliveira. I like Kenny Lawler. Little bit of maybe I'm feeling a big game from Rasheed Bailey too.
All right, fair enough. He does have those from time to time. He had a good game last week for Rasheed Bailey. Somewhere, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Yes, I do. 13.6 fantasy points for him last week. Hit and miss at times, but when he hits, decent production there for him. All right, we know who we're all kind of taking, although Trey likes to speak in riddles for fantasy. Will he speak in riddles when it comes to his betting picks as well?
I'm going to start not betting on the Bombers because every time I take them, let's give them a 22-point handicap and then only win by 9. Like, oh God. Or if I take them, that's when BC decides to blow them out. But 6.5 here. That's interesting one. Calgary. I still have that weird it's Calgary in my head, and I need to get rid of it because I think, again, if you said this 4 or 5 years ago, well, Winnipeg's almost a touchdown favorite on the Stamps. We'd all think that whoever made this line has been drinking Pilsners all day, right? So I'm going to take Winnipeg 47.5. Oh, my God. I'll take the over, too, because I know it's going to be Drew Brown because I don't hope for any injury, but if they put Collaros in there, I swear to God, if it's the same as Mazzoli and it's the same as Bo Levi and all that stuff, he gets hurt first play or near the end of the game. I don't want Mike to ever. I don't want to look at Mike's face. So I'm going to say Drew Brown's going to outscore Calgary by 7 points and outscore the over 47.5. Mike, what do you got?
I got the over, but I got Calgary to cover. I got Winnipeg winning this in a walk-off field goal.
Sorry, I muted myself. My keyboard's loud. Next, Ryan, what do you got?
I'm going to take the Bombers on this one as well. I'm just not super confident in what Jake Mayer has produced in the last couple of weeks. The offense seems a little bit flat. I think the Bombers will hopefully correct that first half from last week in this one, and I'm going to take the over on it as well. I think there's opportunities for both sides to put some points on the board a little bit.
Hey, Mike, you took Calgary, but the over, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Adam, last and maybe least. Let's see.
No, I'm going to take the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on this one. I'm feeling a little blue on this. I'm going to take the under, though, just because, Calgary's done nothing lately. And I think that some people might start reading Drew Brown just a little bit. So hopefully that maybe will slow him down a touch. But I do see the Bombers winning by more than a touchdown. So
you'll be reading him Sunday or a Monday morning in the Winnipeg Free Press, man, about how he blew this team out. That's what you're going to be reading about him.
As long as I don't read about him getting injured or blowing something else out, because I am sick of seeing quarterbacks injured.
Prukop's our starter. Oh, God.
Are you going to pick him in fantasy this week, just in case, Trey?
I'm not kidding.
Oh, sorry.
Boy Scouts honor. I thought about it, but I didn't.
After last week, I won't talk you out of it.
All right.
But only you. I'll talk everybody else.
Ryan, you were the last one I liked on here, man, and then you just let it go.
It took you a year and a bit for that to happen, to be honest.
Just a question, and a hypothetical question. I just have a hypothetical question, and I don't know if one of you can answer this. But let's say the Bombers go 4 times inside the 1-yard line, okay? And the Dakota Prokop has 3 1-yard rushing touchdowns. Isn't that over the value of a great play, despite anything else that happens?
Yeah, it is. It's true.
That's why I put Miller in that one time, because I was hoping for a touchdown, right? And like,
I think you got him that time too.
Before we move on to our next game, I do want to address the comment in the chat here from Richard. Are we forgetting that Calgary beat the undefeated Argos 2 weeks ago? They beat the Argos 19-9, I believe, in that game, and Chad Kelly went down fairly early in it. Cameron Dukes had barely played any CFL action up until then. I really don't think that Calgary wins that game necessarily if Kelly plays the entire way. The Argos just went 2 and out over and over again, and Mills just ran the ball 27 times, and they killed the clock. And I'll give them credit for the win because, they made the most of the opportunity, and they're the only one to do it so far this year. But that, to me, is not – that one's an outlier. What we've seen the rest of the way from Calgary is a little more concerning for me. And I see y'all nodding some heads here to agree on that one. But Toronto is supposed to be the most balanced team in the league. Not when it comes to their passing defense, but that's a talk for another week when we're talking more about the Argos.
It's the CFL. Like, watch Edmonton beat BC, Toronto, or Winnipeg this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's the CFL. You're gonna get that.
Yeah, you'll get weird results any given week, which is what makes betting and fantasy so difficult at times. Third game of the week here. Montreal and Ottawa, the Alouettes visiting the Redblacks on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Mike, let's talk about Ottawa first. What's the big storyline for you?
Dustin Crum had a career high in touchdown passes and a career high in passing yards, but it was not enough to outlast the Argos. Question is it enough to outlast Montreal? That is a pretty darn good question, because I'll tell you something else. Second place in the East is on the line this week. If Ottawa has any designs of coming back and hosting the home playoff game, it starts with winning this game. That's just my opinion. Dustin Crum might have to meet what I would consider to be maybe one of the better defenses and more underrated defenses in the CFL and the Montreal Alouettes. Just see my discussion on Beverett on the Drive It Home call-in show on Monday. But I just feel like this has defensive struggle written all over it. I feel like this may be a game that benefits Dustin Crum. He has to certainly has that connection with Jaywin Athlin, which is pretty good. Hint on a couple of fantasy players that I might be looking at this week. In Athlin for sure, and Crum maybe. But again, I would expect Ottawa to just continue to progress and get better, and maybe have a defensive stop or two to help out Dustin Crum. But do not sleep on the Montreal Alouettes. I think they are legit, and I think they need to be taken seriously when it comes to winning the East in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that. I mean, you look at what the Montreal Alouettes did last week. They didn't have William Stanback. They didn't have Cody Fajardo, and they still put up a dominating performance against. Oh, yeah, well. Anyways, nevertheless, Cody Fajardo is listed as questionable once again this week. Seems like that seems to do something to ignite the Montreal Alouettes. I don't know. Anyways, he will be questionable again this week. Game time decision. Don't be like me and just leave him in your fantasy or in your fantasy lineups and then never change him. It doesn't work well for you because, you know what? Give Caleb Evans credit. He put out a very good game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Now, that being said, I think the Alouettes really, if they can just get a couple more wins here, yeah, the second place could easily be theirs. This game here almost has a little bit of a playoff feel to it, to be in my opinion, just because again you've got the Ottawa Redblacks who have kind of been a resurgence of sorts. Dustin Crum, yeah, he had a great game last week against the Argos, just couldn't quite finish it off. But I think this could be almost like a playoff game here coming up in week 10 or week 11 of the CFL. What do you guys think? Is there anything in this game here that you're not seeing out of Montreal or Ottawa something that you're seeing out of Montreal or Ottawa that we're missing?
All I was going to add to this is if there was a flex game, this should be it. This is the game of the week. This is the one they put on CBS Sports or whatever it is. You're right, Adam. Playoff game, two teams. We all need to remember how many seasons there's been a crossover going over there. So, third place isn't given in the East, so these two teams need to battle it out. Ryan, you have anything else?
I mean, it's just great that week in and week out, we're talking about these East Division matchups as being the most exciting ones, right? Like, I'm all in on the East Division this year. I'm loving it. And I'm excited to see what Crum does. I'm excited to see if Montreal's defense can keep it up the way they've been playing so far this season. I had the Alouettes as last in the East Division preseason, and they have far outperformed my expectations through the midway point of the season here. And it's exciting. I'm happy for them. Anything else?
I took them as second, didn't I? I took them as second, I think.
Maybe. I think I took them in second also, yeah. But no, I took Ottawa second. Never mind. They were going to play
the footage. Hang on. I've got it pinned in our Discord channel.
Okay, because I'm trying to remember now.
While you're not up, I'm just going to quickly.
Trey had Montreal in fourth. I had Montreal. So we all had Montreal in last.
I must have had Ottawa in second.
Yeah, you did. You both had Ottawa in second. I had them in third. Mike didn't.
No, because I thought this. Actually, no, you're right. I thought this was going to be more of a dumpster fire because of what happened on free agency.
Yeah.
Right, and everything right there. So it's even more remarkable that with all that, and they didn't even have secure ownership and everything with the exit of Gary and everything like that. Yeah, it's pretty good for them. But CFL, too, you can. That's the way it goes.
I'm just going to quickly run through the injury list there for the Alouettes and quickly for the Redblacks as well, if that's okay. William Stanback is fully practiced this week. He'll be back, I'm sure. Almondo Sewell has a hip injury. He was limited in practice today. Cody Fajardo has been limited all week. Like I said before, left shoulder's been giving him issues. There is also, I'm just taking a look here. Brock Groenbach, I think it says Groenbach. I can't read.
Gallenlock, I think.
Gallenlock. Sorry, I cannot see very well on the TV again. Shoulder. He's just coming off the 6th game. He's going to be fully practicing. Probably be back next week. The other one also, just keep in mind, Austin Mack, ankle injury. He did not practice today. He was fully practicing Tuesday, so might want to just keep an eye on that one as the week develops. See what happens, I guess, tomorrow night during the injury reports there. Going over to the Ottawa side of the football, Braylon Addison, Kelly's injury, has been fully practicing though. Frankie Griffith, linebacker, head injury, hasn't practiced any. Drew Desjardins, their big offensive line signing. He's been fully practicing, though, with it. He's had an ankle little injury going on. And Gary, linebacker, he came out of the Roughriders last year. He's been limited, or did not practice, actually, this week so far with a foot injury. So not a whole lot of injuries to talk about on either side, but a couple notable ones maybe for the Alouettes. What do you think of fantasy, Ron?
Yeah, I'm looking at Montreal here, and obviously it's a glorious passing matchup with the Ottawa Redblacks. We saw what the Argos were able to do to them last week. The problem is we don't know if it's going to be Fajardo. We don't know if it's going to be Caleb Evans, who only threw 13 passes last week in their game and was more of a Russian quarterback in that one. I think either quarterback is a good matchup, but given this is the Saturday game and it's a game time decision, we expected Fajardo to play last week and he didn't. I think that kind of rules both of them out for me because you don't have a ton of options to go to if it's not who you expect it to be. Austin Mack generally is the clear favorite for the Alouettes receivers, but I'm surprised. I was just looking at his target share here. He was getting 10, 11 targets a game earlier in the season. I don't know if it's that ankle injury you just talked about, but his last 3 games, 5, 5, and 2. So seems like a little bit less usage for Austin Mack here. But one Montreal receiver I do like is Tyson Philpott this week as a value play at $6,000. Like I said, good matchup with the Ottawa defense. They give up 14 points per game to the middle slot backs, which is 4.4 more than any other team in the league. He's only averaged 4 targets and 22 yards a game in his last 2 games since he returned to the lineup. So not great. I'd like to see more production from him. But I'm going to play the matchup game on this one because it's too good to be true, and he's cheap. So I think he's worth consideration this week. I also have on the Montreal side, I've got their defense to consider this week. I can't say enough good things about it. Take away those games against Toronto and BC, arguably the 2 best teams in the league. And they've given up less than 20 points in every single game. They've also recorded multiple turnovers in each of their last 3. And they face a Redblacks team that Dustin Crum's been sacked at least 5 times in 6 straight games. Can you believe that, as mobile as he's been? So that speaks volumes to the Ottawa offensive line. I'll also throw in on the Ottawa side, again, Montreal, given they give up so few points, don't bank on touchdowns from the Ottawa offense here. I'm going to throw Justin Hardy in there for his volume. He's got 7 or more targets in 5 of his last 6 games, so he's pretty steady, and he's got probably the best passing matchup against this Alouettes defense. So I think Hardy's my favorite receiver on the Ottawa side, but the running backs on both sides in this team, you just don't know who's going to get the ball right now. I think just with kind of a share and the injury that Stanback came off of and things like that. So I'm staying away from all those options. That's what I've got. Let's go to you first, Adam, because Mike's possibly not here and Trey's eating. So Adam, we'll go back to you here first. Give me a player you like in this game.
Probably just Mercy eating, or sad eating because he knows he's going to lose this week. Anyways, nevertheless, Austin Mack, I'm going to have on my roster this week. I think that, why not? I mean, he's been on there all year because he deserves to be. I mean, he's always seeming to get the points. If anybody needs any for Montreal, he seems to get them. So, yeah, I think I just have Austin Mack. I'm just looking if there's anybody else that I have on my roster for them. Nope, that's all I got. And I did take the Montreal defense, I guess. So the Montreal defense, I think, is a pretty shrewd pick. They're only 9,000. They're a little cheaper than most. And, it's Ottawa. They might just pick on a young quarterback. So see how it goes. That's what I got.
Trey, what about you?
Well, thanks, because you said that so loud. My girlfriend texted me from the other room. What are you eating? So anyway, Adam, just so you know, when I'm done with you, man, the RCMP are going to have to tape off your computer because it's going to be an absolute murder scene, man. Like you're going to get nothing done on that computer because CSIS, FBI are all going to look at it because it's going to be like, the worst thing to happen in the last 20 years, man. That's what's going to happen. But this game, You know, I actually don't have much. I have Hardy in right now. That's all I have as my flex, but that could change. He's kind of in there just in case I need to do a little dipty-doodle with the quarterback Friday. And then I'm sure I can put in someone else with a little lower salary to make things work, right?
You gave us an actual name this time. The Riddles
I
didn't make it
mean,
to game 3.
It's Ottawa, Montreal. I don't care anymore what Adam does, man. He's going to do what Adam does. It doesn't concern me.
Mike, what about you? Who's your one fantasy player you're watching in this game?
You know what? I wish I could just mute, put my feet up on the desk, and watch those two go at it for a half an hour. Because I don't know if you see my face. I've hardly stopped laughing every time those two are having a blast tonight. Sorry.
When I'm done with this, the C and CF is going to stand for Colbeck's effing countdown, boys. Remember that.
Save it for CFC after dark.
In all seriousness, though, I'm looking at the quarterbacks in this one as pretty good option. Dustin Crum to me will always remain a good option because of his running threat.
Yeah.
Caleb Evans to me has also shown something. The question is, will he play? That is about $1 million question, of course. But no, this would be I know I'm very, very high on a lot of quarterback options this week because, quite honestly, I think there's a lot of question at the position this week and some pretty good reason to take some quarterbacks that might not have been options earlier in the season.
I don't think I'll ever be high on the quarterback position again after getting negative points from mine in 2 weeks so far, 10 weeks through the season. So, no, there are good options as we've discussed here so far. Now let's talk about what are the best options when it comes to the betting lines this week.
Yeah, this is the closest line of the week. Montreal, the road favorite, -2.5, 47.5 for the over-under line. Boys, I'm going to, not much good comes out of Ottawa, politicians, but Ottawa Redblacks are going to get the job done, I think, this weekend. And I'm looking at this last week. What was it? Ottawa had 31 points and lost, and Montreal had 41 points. Give me the over, boys. Ryan, what do you got?
I'm going to disagree with you on both of these. I'm going to go with Montreal in this one. We keep talking every week about how Ottawa finds their way to stay in games. But more often than not, they've lost those games they've stayed in. The Dustin Crum magic only goes so far. I'm really high on what Montreal's done so far. And like I said, not counting BC and Toronto, they give up less than 20, in a lot of cases, less than 15 points a game. So that makes me want to take the under on this one.
Yeah. Mike, if you're done giggling over there, what do you got?
This is an absolute con show because what I say is going to happen often doesn't happen. So ask people close to me, the pick that I made is not the actual correct pick. Listen, 2.5. That's a coin flip up I've ever seen one. So for all the love and chaos of this game, I'm calling it right now. Dustin Crum pulls off one of those walk-offs, and it's going to be a game-winning touchdown inside the final seconds. I'm going to go under 47.5 and take Ottawa at home.
Those at home, just remember Mike is 5-15 on the over-unders. So, Adam, what do you got?
See what I mean?
Yeah, I thought you were burning me tonight. Like you're going after Mike burning me.
Everybody's getting it a little bit. I've been nice to Ryan because he's not feeling good, but the rest of you, man, it's fine.
Adam's just dishing out the sauce this week.
Hey, laughter's the best medicine. I'm having a blast here tonight, guys.
I gave it to Ryan a little bit in the Discord. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I'm going to go with the Montreal Alouettes. I just can't see Ottawa winning this game. And I'm going to go with the under on this one here as well. I think Montreal's going to have a very strong game on defense. Standbacks back. Give me the Alouettes. Give me the under. Sorry.
Well, to be fair, Adam is leading in over-under at 25-14, so I'll give you that. But you did agree with Mike, so I don't know.
Yeah, true.
We'll see here. But anyway, yep.
Something's got to give, and I'm right in the middle. So
That's probably a train waiting to leave the station. The question is, which direction?
all I know is
As long
I'm
as it doesn't go towards
unfortunately
Winnipeg,
honest.
I'm all happy.
That's okay. We won't let your trains in here, Adam. Get out of here. Sunday night football, boys. Let's go.
Yes, final game of the week, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's the BC Lions visiting Saskatchewan Roughriders. Let's go to Adam first to talk about his Riders here.
Oh, do I really have to? Anyways, well, they kind of got absolutely embarrassed last week. That's about as nice as I could say it. But they also got an injury last week, which didn't help them very much at all. Mason Fine is out now. Jake Dolegala is probably going to be starting in this game here for the Roughriders. However, they also made a trade this week. If Trey had his commissioner look there, I should get him to say we have a trade to announce. Anyways, the Roughriders traded off Corey Vedvik, the previous kicker for the Roughriders, punter, I guess I should say more than anything. He's one of the global players. Traded him off for Antonio Pipkin. I think this is his maybe second tour of duty through Saskatchewan. He seems to be a varied guy that keeps rotating around throughout these teams. I think it was a pretty good signing for the Roughriders, who need somebody that has a little bit of CFL experience. Not saying that Shea Patterson couldn't do it or Jake Dolegala. He has had some opportunities. I'm sure that he's going to be starting this week. However, that being said, it looks like that they need some more help in Riderville. They're not sure on the injury, maybe to Mason Fine. It looks kind of a little bit bleak, I'll tell you right now, for the Roughriders. You got to remember that at least they're going on a bye after this week. That will maybe help them get a little bit out of the injury bug. And speaking of injury bugs, Ryan, you may finally get to pull somebody off the injured list this week, as Keon Schaefer-Baker has been getting teased by the Roughriders, saying that he may be returning this week. He's been fully practicing. Looks good out there. Been playing with the kids, playing some football. Looks like he's having some fun. Looks like he might be just ready to go this week for the Roughriders. Another notable.
You're all screwed. This has been, keep the roster afloat until it comes off the waiver wire second half of the season.
Just a quick question.
How long did Braden Lunia stay on the waiver or on the out of the 6 game?
Just a question. Adam, would you play him this week, given you have a bye after this game?
Yep, I'd play him this week. The Riders need a win. They need a big win badly. This is the week they need it. They can't keep going down to teams like BC, like Winnipeg. This is the team that they need to beat to prove a point. You can't go and play the Montreal Alouettes as bad as they did and go and keep doing that and just say, oh, well, whatever. You're still fighting for a playoff spot in Saskatchewan right now. You're fighting for jobs, essentially, if you're the head coach of the Roughriders or the general manager of the Roughriders. You play him if you can play him. If he's healthy enough and ready to go, you play Keon Schaefer-Baker and try to get something going. If nothing else, he's a great target for a very inexperienced quarterback. Gives him another set of eyeballs to look for out there that might just work, or another set of hands. Why not? I'd take him.
I disagree, but it's not my team. I know it's a little bit different, but I still give him the Zach Caleros treatment a little bit, because you have that.
The thing is, the record. If I had the record the Winnipeg Blue Bombers did, yeah, absolutely, my answer would be different.
I know, but you have to remember, you have the bye, and then it's Banjo Bowl Labor Day, or Labor Day Banjo Bowl, right? I mean, does he not traditionally do well against the Bombers?
Traditionally, he does. But he also does traditionally well against the BC Lions. He just does pretty well all over.
So I see where you're coming from. They're a little bit more of a need of a win, but is one receiver in football going to get you that win?
I'd also say the receivers they've had so far have produced pretty good so far, right? Like if it was receiver talent that was the issue, then yeah, I'd maybe rush him back more. But I'm kind of in the same boat that he'll definitely be a big boost when he comes back, but I think it's the offensive line play, it's the quarterback play that have been hurting them more than anything in recent weeks. So I would vote to wait till after the bye week probably as well.
I like I said again, if a guy's healthy and 100%, and he's been out for 9 weeks now, this will be week 10 for him being in the game, or being out, or being back on the roster. He's been on the 1-game injured list now for 2 or 3 weeks. To me, if he's healthy and 100%, why not bring him in for a big game? You never know. It might just change the locker room mood. It might do something to tweak something else. He's got some experience also to talk to the young kids about. So to me, it's a good move. Bring him in right now. You got nothing. What are you going to lose if you bring him in now? I mean, I don't think he gets injured. If he's 100% and he gets injured again, well, he could have got injured against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, that's
he
fair.
could have got injured anytime. So if he's healthy and ready to go, you play the guy. And that was my opinion on it anyways. So, Mike, you want to – sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yep. Mike, you want to run over what the BC Lions are going to throw at the Riders this week?
Yeah. We could maybe use the first game as an example, even though I don't think it was BC's best game. Keon Hatcher had a big game. Thank you for my fantasy pool. VA had a very good game. Makes me very happy. BC's defense kind of rounded back to normal. Only problem I have for BC in this game is if they think this is going to be a win before they even step on the field. I'll leave it at that.
Well, didn't VA get hurt last time he played the Riders?
Correct.
That when Dane Evans came into the game?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. So what does a full VA performance look like against the Riders is going to be an interesting part here, right? I think it's a tough matchup against that Riders defense. But is a healthy VA able to put up what he did last week against Calgary, Mike? What do you think?
No reason why you shouldn't, but you never know. It's the CFL, and we expect certain things to happen, and boom, the exact opposite happened.
Yeah, that's true.
So, guys, I'll just quickly run through the injury chart for both teams as well, just really quickly here. The only real notable injuries for the Roughriders, Brandon Council, they moved him up to limited for practice, so that's good. They could really use him for an offensive lineman right now. Juwan Breskison's been fully practicing. He's had a shoulder injury. Anthony Lanier, that's the big one to watch for this week. The defensive lineman does have a shoulder injury. He did not practice Wednesday. I'd be honest, I'd be doubtful if he plays this week. Over on the BC Lions side of the football, Woody Barron, abductor injury, did not practice. I don't expect to see him anytime soon. Javon Cotoy, same thing, abductor, limited in practice this week so far. Dane Evans, ribbed injury. He did fully practice, though, so he might be backing up VA already. Marcus Moore, hamstring injury, didn't practice so far. But again, week's young. You never know. Some of these guys might come back and put them on limited or full sit. Overall, not a whole lot of injuries. Riders are starting to get a little bit healthier. The Lions are starting to get a little bit healthier as well. So they got a few injuries, but both teams are pretty well what they've got, essentially. What are we looking at for fantasy so far here, Ryan?
I guess my first question, I've got 3 names here in this game as well. My question for you, Adam, is let's say Keon Schaefer-Baker does play this week. Which Riders receiver do you think is coming out of the starting lineup?
That would be a very good question to me right now.
He is a Canadian, so he could take the spot of one of the other Canadians.
Yeah, and I think almost he that's a very good question where he would fit in right now. I would almost think, to be honest, I mean, he's played very well, but I would think almost Jason Stern's spot would be his spot, but I don't want to say it because I like how Stearns plays, but
here's the question.
Where else?
Here's the question. Is Sam Emilus under consideration to come out?
That's my thought. It's either going to be Stearns because that spot's been rotating through all season long, or it's going to be Emilus. But I know they're high on what he's done.
Because realistically, Emilus had that 3-touchdown game, and he's gone really, really quiet since. Everybody thought that 3-touchdown game would be the start of the breakout. Now, That being said, I don't know if we can give a fair assessment based on the quarterback play of the Riders of late, but to me, you want a shot in the arm. KSB is probably the best option that the Riders have at quarterback. No disrespect to anybody else. And I think if you want to look at the Canadian swap out, I think Emilus is the answer because Stern's starting to show a little bit of something. The question is it enough to stay in the lineup? So the thing is, nobody has shown that they are able to stay in the lineup, and I think that's another type of question.
Here's my hot take. Take Jake Winnipeg out of the lineup because he's done next to nothing in a Riders uniform for most of the season. I know he's injured for a bit, but big disappointment there. I think MLS has shown flashes at times. I think Stearns has as well. Winnipeg's been a bit of a disappointment, but we'll see what the depth chart looks like. Honestly, I'm hoping he still plays because Jareth Stearns is the only Riders player I'm considering in this football game. I have next to zero faith in Jake Dolegala in this matchup against the Lions, but Stearns does come in at $4,500. He's also in 2 games so far this year. He's had 13 targets, put up 14.1 and 8.1 fantasy points. Both of those are above the value for his current price. Also, the Lions give us the second most in middle slot back, although I think that might be skewed a little bit by Dalton Schoen a couple of weeks ago. So a decent matchup there for Stearns if he plays, of course. If not, he's taken out of consideration here. On the BC side, 2 names I've got Keon Hatcher at $13,000. Unfortunately, they raised his price a little bit. But I think he's considered matchup proof. I mean, he's averaged 10 targets in his last 3 games. Last week, put up 32 fantasy points. Is the only reason Adam found a way to win a fantasy matchup last week. Pretty much was Keon Hatcher. And it was also against the Stamps defense that going into last week gave up the least in the league to the left slot backs. Now, conveniently, it's the Riders that give up the least to the position. So we'll see if Hatcher can do it again. I do like the matchup for Alexander Hollins this week, but he doesn't get enough of a target share and is $1,000 more than Keon Hatcher, so that puts him a bit out of consideration. But I did think about it. And I do have the BC defense here, even though it's a bit more expensive than the other options we've talked about. And that might drive me away. But the Riders have scored 15 or more points in only 2 of their last 6 football games, guys. The Riders have gotten nothing going offensively, and they continue to give up double-digit fantasy totals quite frequently. Also, the Lions have scored 9 or more points from their defense every week since week 1. Take out 1 game against Toronto and 1 against Winnipeg. So I think there's still decent value for the price, even though, interestingly enough, we talk about how good that defensive line is. They've only registered 3 sacks total in their last 2 games, which is what I was surprised to see. But the Riders also give up their fair share of sacks there, too. So that's what I've got for fantasy players in this one. Trey, let's go to you first. I don't think we've done that yet.
No, that's fine. You leave the best for last, Ryan, every time. It's good. This game, let's... I have one guy, and I don't know about this one, but I have Morrow in because last week he did put up 81 yards against Montreal. Didn't get into the end zone, but I think that, what was this? What is this? Are you making hands? Is he hurt? Oh, is he hurt? Oh my God, no way.
No, he's not. I don't know what Adam. Adam's just messing with you.
Stop it, man. I just see. No, he's not hurt. I just checked this.
Oh, he's hurt. He's hurt. Definitely hurt. You should probably put Frankie Hickson in. Definitely.
Okay. Anyway.
Or Albert Awachi.
Anyway, men are talking at him. Anyway, I think if Saskatchewan has any shot of winning this game, they got to own the possession battle, and they do that by getting a guy who averaged 4.5 yards last week, because 4.5 plus 4.5 is 9, and then you can trot out your third yard guy or short yardage team out there and get the first. And that's how Saskatchewan could win this game. The the cheap, lazy way, Adam, right? What do you got in fantasy?
I've got people, things.
Yeah.
I've got players.
Hell was that? Are you itchy? Like, do your sources say Morrow's getting a 1-game suspension or something that I don't know about? Like, what is this?
Can't tell you nothing. Don't know nothing. Never heard nothing from them sources lately.
You're gonna.
I might have heard from Mikey's sources, but I never heard from my sources.
You're gonna hog tie him to the back of your tractor and just kidnap him for the night now, aren't you? Like, and just really.
Absolutely. When you're all not expecting it, they're all getting hitchhiked. The only one I got on my list, honestly, there though, is Taquan Mizzle. I've got right now on the list because I just like that lineup. If Anthony Lanier's not there, and also with VA in there, he moves around the ball a lot. I think I'm going to probably put Mizzle in. And the other one is Keon Hatcher's on my list right now. He may switch out, though. I don't know yet. I really do like Hollins in this game for some reason. So
we'll see what I do. It's just the prices. The price gets me.
I know,
right?
$1,000. If you're going to spend the 13, what's the 14?
I mean, it can make a difference when I'm at the salary cap currently. So I think I have 0.3 left in my current roster, although it will change 27 times yet before kickoff tomorrow. Mike, what about you? This game, any player catch your eye?
Buyer beware in this one for me. I would load up on BC Lions, but it's that what if thing for me, right? I think BC should win this game. If you want expensive options and you want maybe a little bit cheaper in other games, Hatcher for me. VA for me would probably do it. Dominic Grimes would probably do it.
Is he playing this week? Does that I dropped him in our draft league because week in and week out there was no clue. Like, it was last minute that Grimes was out. So is he playing? He wasn't even on the depth chart.
I have no clue.
Or he wasn't on the injured list. So what's up with Dominic Grimes? Is he healthy? Richard, you're in the chat. You're a Lions fan. Tell us what's going on with Dom Grimes.
And then the other thing for me is, I am absolutely staggered, flabbergasted, that Lucky Whitehead has been as quiet as he has this year. So my question is, at what point does Lucky Whitehead have a massive game? I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, and I'm trying to figure this out, and maybe I'm overthinking it, somebody is going to have a massive game at some point, but we're not accounting for, and I think it might be in this game.
Richard confirmed in the chat, thank you, that Dominic Grimes is on the 6-game injured list. So I'm even more happy with my decision to drop him from my roster last week. Who hasn't given a pick yet? Everybody's given their picks in this game, right? I think we have. So let's pick our winners for the game, Trey.
Yeah, BC, the road favorites, 9.5 going into Riderville, plus 9.5, 44.5 over under. Boy, oh boy, this is the same line I'd put on me and Adam's fantasy matchup. Boy, double digits, here we come, right? Yeah, I watched 3 straight seasons of Dog the Bounty Hunter the last couple of days. Boy, I never miss my target, man. I never miss. Oh. The only difference is dog hopes the best for him, man. No, I'm putting you in 6 feet under, man. That's fine. But 9, I'm going to, just like BC is going to do to Saskatchewan, I'm going to do to you, man. 9.5 all day gravy, and I'll take the over. Adam, I don't even want to hear you. You can go last. Mike, what do you got?
All right. Does everybody have the fire point for the hottest of all takes?
No.
But 9.5, to me, it's utterly disrespectful of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Not only will the Riders cover, I picked them to upset the BC Lions this week at home and restore some confidence back in their fan base going into a bye week and going into a doubleheader with Winnipeg, I am taking Saskatchewan to not only cover, but to win the game.
Over under 44.5. I missed that.
Under.
Mike, I just got to ask, is Kat anywhere? Like, are you just saying this because she's watching you right now?
No.
Blink twice if you're okay.
No, I like to take one upset a week, and this is it for me.
Okay. We're going to talk after the show. Just make sure Mike's okay. But anyway, Ryan, what do you got?
I love having four of us on here because that just means I get to disagree with someone. I'm going to wholeheartedly disagree with Mike. The line should be bigger on this one. It's not going to be close. The Lions are going to blow the Riders out of the water. So I will take BC to win this game quite handily, at least by the 9.5. But I think I'll still take the under on it because I don't expect the Riders to score very many points at all. And also, I think the Riders' defense can shut down the Lions' offense a little bit too. So I'll take the Lions in the under.
No, sorry, Rich. It's only me that smokes the good stuff on this show, boy. Mike, that's just Mike. Anyway, I think we're good. Let's move on. We're good. Adam, what do you got, buddy?
Well, I guess they have to get to the best to last. Nevertheless, I think that probably I would love to agree with Mike. I would really, really, really love to agree with Mike. I don't know. I would rather like to go and drink in the same well that Mike's drinking, but I can't. I've got to go with the BC Lions. This is probably the first time in a very long time that the Riders are this bad of underdogs in Saskatchewan. I mean, when it gets to Labor Day next week, I don't think the odds will be this bad against the Riders. Just because it's Labor Day and anything can happen on Labor Day. But yeah, no, I'm going to go with the BC Lions and I'm going to take the over right now. I don't know. There's not much film on Dolegala. He'll get a few touchdowns here and there. VA is going to throw for a few. He'll probably run in a few. BC's going to win this one, but I'm going to go on the over.
I think Mike picking the Riders makes more sense when you watch the YouTube feed and see that he's wearing a Winnipeg Jets shirt right now. False hope, right? Always got that false hope there, Mike.
I wish I could be happy about anything the way Mike is about the two Winnipeg teams. Like I can't. I'm not even that proud of my own kids as Mike is in the Jets and the Bombers, man. I'm not. I love my kids to death, but Mike's already sent his kids to college with the Jets and the Blue Bombers. I don't think mine's going to trade school. Like I'm just. But anyway.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing you won't be happy about after this week.
Yeah, that's fine. You know what? Anything better than Mike's Cowboys, right? Got lit up by a Canadian boy.
I'm still trying to pick up the emotional scar pieces from what the heck Nathan Rourke did to them, but a lot of those guys won't be. A lot of those guys won't be on the team in 2 weeks, so I'm dead.
I have to say, get used to Dak looking like that on the sideline, though.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay.
It can always be worse. You could be the Denver Broncos.
This is fair.
But you have a great cooking show then, so because Russ can cook apparently, not well, but he can. All right, let's get into our CFL Fantasy League matchups and results from this week. Going back to the previous week in our draft league, I'm just trying to find the results here. I did put up the highest score of the week with 98.5. Mike came in second with 90.7 somehow, despite Zach Collaros having negative 1.8 points in that one. So good job, Mike. Thanks, Keon Hatcher, for that, I guess. Vernon Adams was my big play of the week. Trey, you finished with 53.5. Chad Kelly's your guy, man, but you put Mason Fine in your lineup. What happened?
I think I got my buys mixed up. I think I thought Toronto was on the bye last week, not this week. I think that's all it was. Was Kelly a game time?
No, he was quiet. He was like he
He was
Somewhat
questionable.
limited in
Maybe I didn't.
practice, but-
Maybe I didn't hear him change to going, and that's why I left Fine in, because I don't know why I did that, but that's okay. I still
Yeah, that
beat
was
Adam. Get used to that, boy. Looking up at me, boy. Let's go. Oh,
Yeah, that
You
was a
realize
rough one
both
for
of us
you.
are just sitting in the bottom of the bloody pig
That's
bar,
hey.
our pig pen, going and fighting each other in the mud.
that's fine. I'm still King Hog, man. I don't care.
Yeah, Adam, rough week for you. You didn't have a quarterback because Cody Fajardo was benched with injury last second, and Taylor Powell was on a bye week. So rough week for you, no quarterback. And your new Canadian receiver, Vincent Forbes-Monbois, put up a 0 as well, unfortunately. But this week we only had one transaction so far, I believe 2 actually. Mike Eugene Lewis is back from injury, but you've dropped him completely off of your roster. Mike's so confident in the receivers he has right now that he has no interest in Eugene Lewis. And Trey did drop Mason Fine and pick up Drew Brown. So we'll see what that means for this week's lineups. Good luck to everybody there. In the CFL Podcast Fantasy League that Adam, Trey, and myself are playing in this year, absolute chaos this last week, where somehow Adam and I both won our matchups despite the negative 4 points from Zach Collaros as our captains, and putting up 65 points and 60 points. And then Trey put up 104 and lost. Any words, Trey, to describe your internal feeling that don't need to be edited out of the podcast?
No, I was gonna say no, nothing. Just kids stay in school so you don't end up like me. That's it. I don't know. That's rough. That's fantasy, eh? Like, I was so high. Like, you could tell on the Discord, I was feeling high like Friday night. And then Sunday, I'm like, who am I even playing? I didn't even know who I was playing. And then I look, oh, the guy that's leading the week. Gosh darn it. But anyway.
Yeah, it's a tale of 2 leagues. The matchups sometimes we're all doing good in overall point totals, but those matchups are tough sometimes. This week, Adam faces Travis from the 2 and Out CFL podcast. I face Andrew from the Turf District, and Trey, you're facing Ryan from Go Stamps Go Show. So conveniently, when the Stamps play the Bombers, so will you put in an all Bombers lineup against his all Stamps? Is the question there?
Not a chance, because it's the same lineup I have to set for both leagues, right? So if I had I should have made 2 different accounts. That's what I should have did. I'm not that smart, but anyway.
I also don't think that is legit to do.
Well, if you make a new email and you just log in 2 different things, and it's
Trey Colbeck's making burner accounts now on the CFL podcast page.
Overall
I
standings,
try, but Ryan keeps banning them, man. That's fine.
Overall standings, I have sole possession of first at 8-2 in that league. We'll get into the disaster in the Discord league in a second. You guys are just outside the playoffs cutoff line, 9th and 10th in the standings in that league. So, but 2 wins back to the final playoff spot. So hopefully a good week for both of you there. Of course, make sure you check out all those other great podcasts as well. Where is the other thing here? It is our Discord league. We're playing together with members of our Discord community. This week, my lineup was not good enough to beat Cheppy, who put up 105 points there. Mike, you lost to Larry. Mike, a rough. If we talk about roughest weeks, perhaps roughest for you of all in this league with 33 fantasy points on the week, my friend. Nothing went your way, hey?
Wounded pride, but when your captain gets -4 and doesn't make it out of a certain quarter, it's just one of those weeks. And
just remember, boys. Remember who said was the best backup quarterback last week. Just remember that. Who said that?
Yeah, I blocked that part out of my memory. It was after the hour and a half mark. The only one to win in the Discord league last week from the 4 of us was Trey. So you get your redemption in that league, beating Extreme 88 in that one. What else am I missing? Adam, you did lose your matchup as well to FM Fan 2014, who did complete the sweep of the entire CFC crew. So credit to them. This week's matchups, I face Barry. Mike faces Extreme 88. I wonder who Trey and Adam play. I haven't gotten any hints throughout the entire matchup this week.
I hate you.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, who the? I can't even say it. Never mind. Conor McGregor's favorite line. Never mind.
In the standings in this league, Trey is the highest out of all of us with 6th place. Mike is in 8th. Adam's in 9th. I'm in 11th out of 12 teams, despite I've got a 4-6 record in this league, an 8-2 record in our podcast network league. Fantasy is just
How many teams make the playoffs in this one?
I think it's 6.
Is the other one 8?
Yeah.
Both. Okay. So I'm just in that final crossover spot. Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, we're coming for you.
Also, we just wanted to let you know, whoever wins the top 4 spots, you get our job for the next podcast. So, there's that.
Oh no, they could have all 2024, man. I don't care.
Yeah, we'll go on a good sabbatical.
Oh, these guys are nuts. I want tests. They're doing some AI stuff. They're cheating. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only answer.
In fairness, those two are the nicest, most positive guys I've ever been around.
Yeah, we got a great people in the Discord community. So it's been a fun league to play with folks this year who are putting really into question why we're the ones running this podcast. But nonetheless, here we are, 222 episodes in and still going strong. Which leads us into wrapping this one up. An hour and a half into the show. Good timing today, guys. We did pretty good in that regard. Let's see. As we wrap things up, we'll be back again next week, same time, same place, with our Week 12 preview. We'll preview the storylines, the betting odds, and fantasy picks in that one as well. For members of our Discord community, if you check out the link in the episode description, we'll also have our live Drive Home call-in show again next week, I presume. And you can catch that after the fact on our audio feeds as well. But if you want to join us live and send in your comments and questions for that one, hop into the Discord community for that as well. You can find us all on social media. Let me just pull this up here. There we go. You can find us on X. I got to update the graphic here, I guess. I don't know. You can find us on X at CF Countdown Pod, on Facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod there as well, if you want to see what we've got going on social media. Mike, what have you all got going on these days?
I am holding a major announcement. I am actually surprised that the tat hasn't gotten out of the bag here locally. Surprised that I've been able to keep this under wraps for a while. So look for that probably in the next week. Just also wanted to give a shout out to the Winnipeg Rifles. They have an early season battle with the 1-0 Saskatchewan Hilltops this week at Eastside Field, Sunday at 1 o'clock in a most anticipated Prairie Football Conference game in some time between these two teams. So good luck to them.
Rifles really stepped it up this year, Mike?
Sorry?
Did the Rifles really step it up this year or what?
No, there's the expectations from most around the Rifles is that they feel this is one of the better teams they've had in some time, but they've kind of been building, and now they feel like they can compete with the likes of the Regina and Saskatchewan, and of course Edmonton and Calgary, and all those types of teams. So I am not really in talking to a lot of people directly involved with the team, but just the sense over the last number of years is that there's enough of this sort of big boys in the conference, for lack of a better term, coming from Saskatchewan. And the Rifles, to be honest, to a point, are set to be in the afterthoughts for the most part. And they want to show that they, at least in their minds, deserve to be a top-tier team in the PFC. And that PFC is a lot like Canada West, and you'll be getting a lot of Canada West football talk from me in the next couple of weeks. But hey, 1-0, 1-0. Early season measurements did for both teams, coming off very impressive wins last week as well. So, in order to be national champs, you must beat the PFC dynasty that is the Saskatchewan Hilltops.
All right, Adam, we're being told you need some artwork on those walls behind you. So while you go shopping for artwork, where can people find everything else you've got going on?
Well, I'll go find some artwork eventually here, but maybe after I'm done combining. Kind of been busy with that, swathing, combining, trying to get some stuff lined up, getting equipment fixed, getting augers fixed, doing all sorts of good stuff on the farm. So yeah, we will go get some artwork after that. Maybe I'll hang a nice big Rider banner here after they win against BC. Right? Isn't that right, Richard? Or maybe I'll go and hang my trophy that says I beat Trey Colbeck also. On a serious note, though, everybody up in the Northwest Territories, up in the Yellowknife area, hey, I mean, everybody's thinking of you up there. I just seen that there was an emergency evacuation order for a whole provincial capital. I mean, our territory capital. I mean, you don't see that very often. So be careful up there if you're up there. And you can follow me at AdamStewart1 if you want to. Also, Farmer in Saskover on the Instagram. Trey, what you going writing down for strategies over there?
Yeah, what are you drawing on your board behind you? We can't see too well, Trey. Are you getting your own artwork on your walls?
I drew a bunny. I erased it though, so it's okay. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Mike's always got these secrets, but man, I got no secrets. I'm just the best, and I'm gonna beat Adam this week and next week in the other league and every week. It's all good, man. And then we got Banjo Bowl. You coming out for Banjo Bowl? Hopefully, come out for Banjo Bowl. I'll buy you.
I sure hope I can, but I don't know yet. Okay. We'll see how the harvest goes here. We still got to figure out a bet though for the rest of this.
That's okay.
For this Banjo Bowl Labor Day thing.
Yeah,
Let's do that another day.
Yeah, we figured. Anyway, at Trey Harness Link, horse racing stuff, football stuff, you know where it's at. Oh, and Richard, just real quick, he says, what did he say? Something about the entertainment value. That's why he watches us. That's like telling a girl you like her personality, bro. Don't do that to us. Anyway.
By the way, Mike left already. He didn't want to bother waiting around for anything else we had to say, so he's gone.
He's making deals.
But yeah, Mike's gone. We're going to be heading out here shortly. If you want to see what I'm doing on social media, it's at CooperTrooper42 on X. Mostly just talking about Nathan Rourke now campaigning for his spot in the NFL Hall of Fame after his preseason play there. Please put him in there. And make sure you keep checking out the show and do all the fun things such as where is that? There we go. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends. Help us grow the show. Maybe it'll help us grow enough to put artwork on everybody's walls. We always appreciate that. Send in fan artwork to the Discord community. I'm not giving you my mailing address, but if you want to post it in there, maybe I'll print it out and put it on the wall. Thanks everybody for listening. On behalf of the entire crew this evening, Mike, Adam, Trey, I'm Ryan saying thanks for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.